Hi, I'm Di. Thanks for joining me. Please excuse my raspy voice. I do have a little bit of a sore throat. So, enough of that. We're in the kitchen, but we're not cooking today. We're coming up to spring, summer, so I thought I'd get busy with my sewing machine and make myself some new outfits. So that's what I'm doing. So I'll just show you what I've got. First of all, I have just laid out some fabric down here, which I'll show you in a moment. And then I've got my pattern pieces on it. So I'm going to cut some pants. I'm going to make some wide leg pants. And then I'm going to make some tops to go with that. So this is the fabric that I've bought. You can see the texture of it there. It's a nice muslin and it's a heavyweight muslin, so I'm just making some nice flowy pants out of that. And I never pay full price for my fabric, so this was, I think, around $16 a metre, and I got it for, I think it was $10.20. And then I've got a whole lot of other fabric here. Now I've bought this for different purposes. This is a stretch fabric, like to make t-shirts from. So I've bought that one there. Now this one, I didn't buy it for myself, but if you look there, it does go really well with the pants. So I may make myself a little top out of that. And I also bought this one. Again, didn't buy it to match. I bought it to make something for the grandchildren, but it matches really well. And then here's another one that I bought. So you can see all my fabric there. All of it there. There's even that piece under there. So all of these were around the $16 a metre, and I got them for $4 a metre. So my first place that I go to is the clearance section. I never pay full price. So, I mean, that's a big saving. So I got 2 metres each of the stretchy fabric. And so we're going to get sewing. So what I'm going to take you through is, first I'll make the pants. Now I've cut out all my pattern pieces there, and I've actually cut out an extra piece that I'm going to put patch pockets on these, just on the front. And what I've used here is just a standard tracksuit pattern. Yeah, I use my standard t-shirt and tracksuit patterns for everything. So I have altered it to make it wide leg. You can see the original marks, and then I've widened it from there. So, yep, there we go. Now, I'm just about to set my sewing machine up to sew, but in previous videos, I've been asked to show how I thread my machine and how I operate the machine. Now, I find that a little strange because all machines are different. And what you're probably best off doing, if that's a question that you have, how to thread your machine, how to operate your machine, there are so many YouTube videos out there, you'll probably find one specific to your machine. Now, my sewing machines are, I'm thinking they're about 26 years old. I do have another machine, which is only about 5 years old. I only bought it for a spare in case I'm ever sewing and my sewing machine mucks up and I can't finish the task, then I've got one a go-to. But this is a really good machine, and I have used it for hours and hours and hours of sewing, and it works really, really well. So what I'm showing you is specific to my machine, and it may not even relate to your machine, but because I've been asked, I'll just show you quickly. So the first thing I need to do is to thread my bobbin. So I'm just putting my thread on there. That's where we thread it, just up on top. I put it on, there's a little, like a guide. It's got a little screw on top. I put it around there, and then I get my bobbin, just starting it on, threading it through the hole in the bobbin. Then I just click that out, That means the sewing part won't operate, but I'll be able to, this will start spinning when I put my foot on the pedal. So there you go. That's threading my bobbin, and that will automatically cut out when it's full. So I'll stop it there. I'm only sewing this pair of pants. I don't use this thread very often. I don't want to have a full bobbin with this thread. So, and I only bought 100 meters of this thread. So I'll just stop it there, and then I'll show you how I thread my machine. So I'm just removing my bobbin, trimming any excess thread off there, and then cutting that. And then down the bottom here, I have a little cover for my bobbin. I'll just put my hand behind that so that you can see. There are instructions written on that as to how to thread the bobbin. So this is a drop-in bobbin, and I prefer this to the other one where you go in from the front. This one works much easier. So we've got that in. Now for the thread, I need to put it through the section on the back, down here and up and around. I hook it in here, then I open this up. In here there's a little thing there to put it through, then just down by the needle there's another one to put it through. Now this does have an automatic threader, but being 26 years old, it broke years ago. So just make sure that you've cut your thread nice and sharply, and that way it should go through straight up. I usually just lick my fingers and put a little bit of moisture onto that thread to get it through. If you've got thread that won't go through, either your sewing machine needle or if you're hand sewing, another trick that I've used is to just get a little bit of hairspray, just spray it on my fingers, put it on the end of the thread, and it makes it much easier to get it through your needle. Okay, so now when I've threaded it, I always have a test piece of fabric and I let it sew, because it's got to pick that bobbin up and get working. So I'll just do that before I do anything else. So I'm just going to sew my test piece now. I'll take that off and I'll just check that it's sewn correctly. So also the thing that I check at this time is to make sure that that colour thread is a really good match. And it is. I matched it in the store, and I'm looking at the, see at the back you can see that when it first starts to pick up it's all loose, and then it's grabbed the bobbin thread and it's sewing correctly. So you always, if you change your bobbin, you always need to do that. And I just leave it on the preset settings, and so that's just on a straight stitch, and the length of the stitch is already preset, and that works fine. I don't need to alter that for what I'm doing. So we'll just get on and we'll start working on the garment. Now I've got my pattern pieces for my pockets, and the first thing I'm going to do is do an overlocking stitch all the way around. Then I'm going to take it to the ironing board and I'm going to iron a little hem on there. It doesn't need to be very much, and that way I can apply them to the actual legs, the pieces that I need to. So I'll do that and then I'll come back. Before I do that, when I look at this fabric, it's very difficult to see any difference between the right side and the wrong side. Now, just because I can't see any difference doesn't mean that there isn't one. So I've got to make sure that when I sew this, that I'm doing it on the right sides. So I've just put a pin in there to mark it before I even take these apart. And I'll be doing that with all my pattern pieces because I know that I'll very easily get them mixed up. Okay, so I have my pockets here. Now what I did, I overlocked all the edges, and then I have sewn down the edges that I need to. Some of them I don't, because that's going to go in to the side. That's the actual side, so it will go along the side seam, and that's the top, so that will go into the waistband area. So I only need to sew a few of the edges there, which I've done. Now normally I would double my fabric or put a liner on it or something, but I haven't done that this time. I'm very short of fabric, so yeah, that's the reason. Okay, so now I have pinned my pocket pieces on to the front pieces of my garment, and I'm just going to sew those in place, the seams that I need to sew. So I've sewn my pocket pieces in place, and now I'm just got the back, and I'm just going to sew the front and back together, the side seams and the inner leg. And I'm going to do that on both. And I'm also going to overlock all those seams. So I'll come back when I've done that. Okay, so I have sewn up the inside leg. So that's all down here. I have sewn up the outside seam, which is all the way down there. And I have overlocked those seams. And then down at the hem edge, the bottom edge, I have also put an overlocking stitch there, and that way when I need to take them up, I just have to fold it, and then I can just sew it. And so now I have turned, we've got this one inside out, just the way that I sewed it, and then we've got this one, which I've put the right way. So now all I need to do is to put my arm in here along the inside leg seam, find the inside leg seam of the one that's inside out, and just feed my fabric down through that. So I'm just feeding one into the other. So now we have the right sides together inside here, and right at this point here, that's the crotch area. And so now I just have to do one big seam going from the waist at the front all the way down through the crotch area and up to the waist at the back. That's the seam I need to do. So I'll sew that seam, overlock it, and then come back. So I've got my pants here, and they're already marked out in quarters because I've got the side seams and the front and back seams. So they're already marked out in quarters. So I've got my elastic here, and I've measured that out, and now all I need to do is to make that in quarters. Just mark the quarters out by putting some pins in it. Now I just have to find the front and back. That's easy because I've got pockets on this one. So that's the back there. So I just need to start at the back and work my way around and pin my elastic at the quarter marks. So this is a sew-on waistband. There's no separate waistband. It's a very simple pattern. It's only 4 pieces, and then I put the pockets on. So I had 2 extra pieces that I did because I wanted pockets. But generally, just to do the pants, if you're not doing pockets on them, you've only got 4 pieces and your waistband is sewn on, and you can do the elastic in 2 ways. You can either sew the elastic onto your garment, or you can sew a channel that you thread the elastic through. Now, I prefer to sew my elastic on because it gives me even gathers, and it also means that it doesn't roll. You don't get uneven gathers, you don't get bunching up in certain areas, and it doesn't roll and twist inside the channel. The only downside is that if the elastic wears out and you want to replace it, you do have to unpick it. But generally, by the time the elastic's worn out, the pants have worn out, so it's time for new pants. So I don't worry about that aspect of it. So all I need to do is to sew this onto the garment. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to stretch the elastic as I sew it on and go around in a zigzag stitch, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Here's a panel of my machine, and I'm choosing a zigzag stitch. Sorry, it's going to go in and out of focus. I'm moving a little bit. And the one I want is number 7. I want actually number 8, because as you can see there, number 8 is a triple stitch zigzag. So it does 3 stitches and then goes back the other way, 3 stitches. So you can actually see that. I'll just go in closer. There we go. And I'll just need to set how long I want it. So I just need to put the camera down and do a test. So I'm just sewing in the center of the elastic, but I'm bringing the elastic down from the edge. I'm not putting it right up against the edge. And that way, when we fold it over and I sew it back down, I know that I'm covering my elastic completely. So we're going backwards and forwards to secure that stitch. I'll put my needle down and we stretch that elastic, hold it against the garment, and then we're just sewing that. Again, just stretching it and sewing. I don't want to be too close to the edge up here, so I'm just readjusting that. Okay. And we're just doing that all the way around. Okay, so once we've done all that, excuse me, once we've done all that and we've gone right back around to the beginning where we started, we are now going to just trim up our threads and then fold it down. We're changing the stitch to just a plain zigzag, so it's not the 3-step zigzag now. And we just fold that down. Now, as we're going around, we're going to need to stretch that as well. And we're just going to sew that from beginning to end. So let's get started. Locking our stitch in, and let's get going, and I'll come back when I finish that.
So here is a picture of the finished garment. There's the pants and there's the top that I'm going to be making in my next video. So join me in my next video if you'd like to see how I make that top. But there are the pants. They are absolutely wonderful to wear. The fabric is so soft. It washes well, doesn't need ironing, dries very quickly. They're very comfortable. And I will be making a few more pairs in different colours but using the same fabric. And I was in the shops recently and I've seen that there are so many garments being made out of that fabric: pants, skirts, tops, that type of fabric, a muslin. So for once, I'm in fashion. So hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you on the next video. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.
Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you give it a try. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to keep receiving videos like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll always be notified when a new video comes up. Thanks for joining me again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.